I'm Candace Hawes, and I want to thank all of our viewers and customers, like I said, from the Pottery, the Pharmacy Santa Ana, Santa Barbara, and Berkeley for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about the benefits of cannabis for those who have suffered a stroke. Research suggests that cannabinoids such as THC and CBD could have several beneficial effects following a stroke. A 2014 review in the Journal of Cerebral Blood Flow and Metabolism suggested that cannabinoids are promising candidates for future treatment. This study looked at several animal studies in which scientists gave THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids to animals soon after experiencing an experimental stroke. The results indicate that the endocannabinoid system plays a role in the body's response to a stroke. Furthermore, a comprehensive review of research indicates that after a stroke, cannabinoid receptors CB1 and CB2 appear to be more active and increase the release of beneficial endocannabinoids. The CB1 receptor seems to reduce the temperature around the site of the injury, while the CB2 receptor regulates the inflammatory response. Together, these functions may reduce the size and the area affected and brain damage, which is very interesting. Our guest speaker today is Cory Getz, the CBD surfer who has an amazing recovery story. Cory Getz, the CBD surfer, is a long-time, lifelong athlete with an astonishing message. Suffering a near-fatal Luke Perry brainstem stroke in 2019, Cory completely lost use of the right side of his body. He was lucky to be alive, doctors said, but might never walk again. 20% of brain stroke victims do not survive, and 70% suffer permanent disability. It was a devastating diagnosis, but with physical therapy as the only option, the specialist said that Cory might learn to walk maybe in a year, but Cory had waves to catch and he wasn't going to have any of that. So researching out-of-the-box treatments, he learned about the benefits of CBD and CBDA. With the enthusiastic goal of getting back on his board within 6 months, Cory began daily regimen of CBD and physical therapy. Being an athlete helped him, and he was soon completing 1,000 reps on his arms and legs. Incredibly, he regained the use of his right arm, and within 6 weeks, his hand, well ahead of medical expectations. Just 108 days after his stroke, Cory paddled on his surfboard and proved that CBD really does work miracles. Today, Cory's an inspirational speaker, surfer, husband to Laura, and stay-at-home to Dad Lucas. Fully recovered, he is working on becoming a certified cannabinoid coach to help others enjoy good health without pharmaceuticals. We'll hear from Cory in just a few minutes, but first I want to start by giving you guys some context for some of the terms that you guys might actually hear today during our presentation. All right, so getting into the cannabinoids that you guys are probably the most aware of, we'll start with THC. So THC is the most abundant cannabinoid. You'll find it in almost every cannabis product on the market. THC is what makes people feel the psychoactive high. THC does seem to be more beneficial for certain conditions, such as appetite, sleep, and it does have a greater effect on the way that people perceive pain. CBD is another major cannabinoid. It has become very popular in the last couple of years. CBD is a non-intoxicating cannabinoid, which means that you don't feel any kind of mind-altering effects. And CBD is used most commonly to treat chronic pain, anxiety, inflammation. And it's also important to note that CBD should be taken for long periods of time, for a couple of weeks before you see the benefits, whereas THC is one of those cannabinoids that you can use like once in a while when you have pain, when you need sleep, when you need appetite relief. So that's very important to set out. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the minor cannabinoids that you may also hear us talk about and you might see inside the dispensaries. One of the most abundant cannabinoids that you'll hear people talking about is CBN. CBN, research is showing, is a great natural sleep aid and is also shown to have sedative properties that can relieve conditions like insomnia. In a study of rats, CBN showed relief in muscle and joint pain conditions like fibromyalgia and also had neuroprotective properties. So besides just the sedating properties, we're finding that CBN has other benefits. So you'll see this cannabinoid and research about it out there in abundance in the market. CBG is also another minor cannabinoid, but is actually known and referred to as the mother of all cannabinoids because CBG is actually where all cannabinoids are derived from. They all start in the acidic form of CBG. Now, CBG works by binding both receptors, where it's thought to strengthen the function of anandamide, a neurotransmitter that plays a role in enhancing pleasure, motivation, regulating appetite, sleep, and alleviating pain. So it's very interesting. And I know that as science progresses, we'll get more and more information about how these all cannabinoids work. Then we're going to move on to the acidic forms of the cannabinoids. So the acidic form of a cannabinoid means that this is the raw form of the cannabinoid. So if you are growing a cannabis plant and if you pull off a bud, it's not going to have THC. It's going to have THCA, which is the acidic form. Same thing with CBDA in the plant form. It's not until you actually decarboxylate the cannabinoids using agitation, heat, time, that they actually change their chemical structure and they actually become the THC and CBD that are most popular, and they actually have different effects. Some of the effects overlap and some of them are completely different. Now with THCA, it's not very psychoactive. There are some people that are very sensitive that said that they have experienced some psychoactive effects, but most people not. And in fact, some people even like to juice the raw buds of the cannabis plant for the anti-inflammatory effects of THCA. CBDA, as I said, is also the acidic form of CBD. And research is showing that CBD has potential anti-inflammatory effects, but is also helpful in treating nausea and vomiting. And then I also want to say just a little bit about broad spectrum, full spectrum, isolate, and distillates, which are the different forms that you can find sublinguals in. So if you've never heard the different forms kind of explained, full spectrum means the maximum amount of native phytocannabinoids are retained during the extraction. The goal is to remove the extraneous lipids, the fats, and the waxes that make it hard to like smoke or to take that as a tincture, while retaining the identical amount of ratio of cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids from the original plant source material. So trying to keep it as whole as possible. Now with the broad spectrum, what they're doing is they're extracting, but then they're adding back in terpenes, flavonoids, and minor cannabinoids, so it's not as full. And then the next level would be a distillate. So the distillate takes the opposite approach of full spectrum. So they're seeking to remove everything but the cannabinoid of interest. So they strip away everything but maybe THC. They strip out everything but maybe CBD. And after undergoing solvent extraction, the concentrated oil is run through a short path distillation process to even further to either purify it. So if you think about like alcohol distillation, how they run it through the two containers and it runs through a line and it comes back in a more pure form. So similar to that. And then the last form will be the isolate. So the isolate is the purest form of extracted cannabinoids. And you usually find this in a crystalline powder with a purity of about 99.9%. The only thing is that this is an isolate, and so you're only getting one cannabinoid. You're not getting any cannabinoids besides that one that you're trying to isolate out. So this is created through additional solvent processes after the distillation. So you have to have distillate first, and then you can make an isolate after that. And then finally, just to lay more context, I wanted to talk to you guys about the endocannabinoid system. So the endocannabinoid system is a very, very important body function that all human beings, all animals with a vertebrae are actually born with. The endocannabinoid system helps balance your temperature, your appetite, your mood, your inflammatory system, your reproductive system, so many things. It really controls like the homeostasis, the balance of your body. So, if something's on, your own internal endocannabinoid system knows to, send messaging up there. We need to increase serotonin or whatever to that system and to help, correct and remedy it to make it back to a neutral state. So we can reproduce our own endocannabinoids, but we can also get cannabinoids from plants, and we call those phytocannabinoids. And the phytocannabinoids from cannabis actually match identically our endocannabinoids, and they fit into our endocannabinoid receptors like a lock and key, which is very great. That's really cool. And it's only maybe 30 years ago that we really understood how the endocannabinoid system works. And it'll help you kind of understand as we move further through the presentation. And then finally, I just want to talk a little bit about cannabis as a neuroprotectant. We have findings through research that the cannabinoid receptor CB1 has a role in the neuroprotective effect of THC. CBD has also been reported to be a neuroprotectant and has reduced the signs of oxidative stress to modulate cytokine releases and increase calcium release from the neuronal and glial intercellular stores. The neuroprotection, if you guys don't understand what that is defined as the ability for the therapy to prevent the neuronal cell death by intervening and inhibiting these pathogenic cascade that results in the cell dysfunction and eventual death. So with all of that out of the way here, I'm very excited to bring on our guest speaker. Sorry about that. Let me pull up the right video. We have a really cool video that I want to share with you guys. And then after that, get into Cory's story.
Hi, I'm Cory Getz, and I'm the CBD surfer. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. There's a really strong swimming culture, beach culture there. I'm a lifelong surfer, swimmer, athlete. You get in the city and you get overwhelmed. It's frustrating. You get angry people. You got people that take theirs, that they don't leave any for you. This world would be so much better if everybody gave a little bit. Out here, it's just peaceful. Just a little bit of nature in your life just goes a long way. That's why I love it so much. In May of 2019, I had a brainstem stroke out of nowhere. The very first time that we noticed that I was having a stroke is I had lost my balance. I kind of stumbled down the hallway. There was something not right, but I couldn't pinpoint it. At first it was balance, then it was speed, then it became my foot, and then it was the hand was the last to go. I had called my wife. She said, I can't understand you, you're slurring too bad, you need to go see a doctor. That is the point where I knew it was serious. Brainstem strokes typically leads to lifelong paralysis. Once I got home from the hospital, they basically told me I had a year to recover. I just absolutely would not accept being paralyzed. I was planning how to live my life back in the water. I was planning on the day that I'm going to surf again. The first 2 weeks, I could barely move a limb, so I learned to inch it along. My wife and I were always looking for new health products, so when it came to CBD, we knew that it had a lot of health benefits. We didn't really know exactly what it could do for a stroke. Lo and behold, it was the miracle we've been waiting for. Chemistry CBD is my miracle. So every day I would devote all my physical energy to rehab, every bit of it. Rehab with CBD, I think the combination of the two is remarkable. It's 108 days from paralyzed to surfing. We feel that it was the reason that I'm here, the reason that I'm talking to you, the reason that I'm 100%. And I have chemistry to thank for that. And it's because of them I got all the quality of life back, and it's because of chemistry that I live in color.
I really love that piece that they put together, Cory. And I know it's really hard for you to watch because it really brings you back into that moment. So I really appreciate you, sharing your story with us, because I know it is very still, strong in your heart and in your memory. So
yeah, that really shakes me up a lot. By the way, I haven't seen it for a while, so yeah, hearing my own words really quite profound.
yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, I wanted to tell you guys that part of the reason why I'm out and speaking is I'm a lifelong cannabis user, and it not only helped me with my stroke recovery, but it also helped me with my lifelong ADHD. And I fought with pharmaceuticals. I went through the whole Adderall, for ADHD, and I'm a sativa person all the way, and I really rock that super sativa. So bring me some of that Pineapple Express, Green Crag, and all the jumpy sativas out there, and that really calms me down and makes me a much better person for it. So, but listen, when I was young, I really didn't know. Much about indica or sativa. Back then it was just you got what you got, and really didn't have that many names when I was young. So it wasn't until I was older I started to find out about terpenes, and I started to find out medically exactly why I liked the sativa more than the indica. So um, well, I'm losing my
We
train
talked
of
about
thought
that
here.
too, and it's similar to children with ADHD and how they give the stimulants to kind of calm them down. You were saying that you were using before when you had ADHD, you were using the sativas and they helped kind of balance you out. So
Absolutely.
very similar.
Yeah, in fact, it's very funny because a lot of people they don't care for a sativa because they feel like it doesn't really work for them, right? And I understand that because it really is helpful motivation and creativity and thought processes. Maybe not the sitting on the couch and relaxing, which may be what they're looking for. But for me, my body works when I'm awake and happy and thinking and processing and doing my daily, because I got a lot of things to get accomplished. So I cannot necessarily take a load off and just go sit on the couch. Now, some people indicate works really well for them and they can smoke that all day and man, more power to them. I really do appreciate that, but I can only have it at like 7 o'clock at night because I'm out of here after that. After I have some indica. So that being said, indica was a part of my recovery. Let's go ahead and get into that. I guess we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first, before
Okay.
we get into like what you did and what you used and what was successful, can you tell us a little bit about like what are the different types of strokes? I know that we've had some people like just recently in the news that suffered from strokes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's hemorrhage on the brain, so that would be bleeding. A blood vessel in your brain bursts, and you have bleeding on the brain, which is horrible because, well, I won't get into that because this we're talking about this. So, and then they also have a blood clot in your brain, right? And isotomic stroke, and then and I had a pontine stroke. Guys, there's a number of strokes. There's about 7 different types of strokes. So I'm not sure that I know all of them to go into, but the pontine stroke is at the base of your it's the base of your skull and high at the very top of your neck. And now it really controls all motor function. So all my neural functions run through the brainstem. So one of the first things that happened to me when I started to have the stroke was I lost my balance, and which was funny because I chopped it up to drinking, and I wasn't drinking that day, but I absolutely felt like I was drunk, and then was walking straight down the hall, and I fell onto the wall, like literally, like fell against the wall and had to like prop myself up. My wife did watch it, and we both missed the stroke signs. We missed the signs. She did what I appeared to be a stroke test on me. She asked me to smile. She asked me if I could move my arm. Was I in any pain? Which was no, no. Answer was no on each of those. But we had some guests at our house, and I had a real urge to go to sleep, like right then and there. Like, and it was 6:30 at night. We had just got guests that came over from out of town at our house. It was really inappropriate timing for me to like all of a sudden like bow out and go to sleep. But like something was telling me I had to go to sleep, and these were the signs I was missing. I was missing all the signs of that I have to go to the hospital. And so I blew it. I blew it. You have a 3-hour window in which you can get help for a stroke if you get to the hospital in time. There are procedures, blood thinners. They can actually go in through some of your veins and like try to remove areas of blockage. But there are things that you can do, and I urge you, if there's something going wrong inside your body, you do not know what it is, you have to go to the hospital immediately. Trust me on this. You do not want to miss this. It's imperative that you get there. Okay. So I missed all the signs, right? And I woke up the next day and just a horrible mood. I mean, it was unlike me. I don't wake up like that. So that was the first sign that maybe something was wrong. So the day went on, and it ended up where at midday I was calling my wife and telling her how bad I felt, and and she couldn't understand me on the phone. She couldn't really sorry
Okay.
guys. She couldn't understand what I was saying on the phone because I was slurring so bad. So that was the point in time where we knew that I had to go to the hospital, or I went to the regular doctor after that, which was, I made mistake after mistake after mistake. So I and not only that, I drove myself to the regular doctor. So when I drove myself to the regular doctors, I was starting to feel I was losing everything on my right hand side. So I had trouble braking and I had trouble accelerating. Luckily, my doctor was maybe only 2 blocks from my house. Really very close, no major streets or anything, but like, looking at it in retrospect, it was not a good move, and I was definitely having trouble accelerating.
You never
So
think that someone as young as you, someone as
yeah,
healthy as you, that's been an athlete, that this would, that you would suffer from a stroke. And
right,
like I was saying before, Haley Baldwin, now Haley
yeah,
Bieber, the wife of Justin Bieber, just recently had, I think it was Same Pontine stroke as well. Luke
yeah,
Perry, Pontine
it's
stroke. So it's
becoming
very
more
important.
common.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing these warning signs, because you're right. People need to spread this information. If you feel something's wrong, go to the doctor right away. Don't wait
Right.
till the next day. Don't drive yourself. You're very lucky that you've been able to come out of this, and it's so
Yeah.
great you could share your story.
Yeah, like I said, the pontine stroke. So it affects. So the pontine area of the brain stem controls all major like functions. It's not like breathing and heart rate and blood pressure and like it really gets involved, and especially all neuroactivity also runs through there. So like I said, I lost my balance was the first thing to go, which makes my story even more remarkable, that I was to not only regain my balance by rewiring my brain, but to a level that is so far beyond what you would call regaining your function to walk, or like, I mean, the recovery is beyond extraordinary. So um, uh, I I'm so glad that I'm not glad that it happened, okay, but I am glad to be the person to be speaking for the plant.
Yeah,
This is the calling that was really like, it was meant for me. And this is who I am, and that's why I'm like plant forward, plant medicine, and to come out as a full roster man and be a speaker like for athlete level stroke recovery is just, man, it's an honor that I really can't explain how happy I am to be the face of cannabis and CBD recovery for stroke. I mean, this is the place I want to be on, and I'm going to use this platform to gain greater insight into, hopefully, I want what I really want to do is help stroke people realize this, and we have. Did we do this slide for the government patent? I'm getting a
yeah,
little
we
ahead of
had that
myself,
towards
huh?
the end. So let's talk
Okay,
now, since we talked about the different types of strokes, kind of like your particular stroke. So what are
sure.
some of the things that you did, after the doctors told you that you weren't going to have a recovery? What are things
Well,
that you did in your personal life to recover so quick?
okay, so we'll start out with the doctors for really not supporting me in my cannabis recovery. So, and they definitely did not mention CBD as a part of a regimen for stroke recovery. So, which was fine. That I'm not sure that they are keeping up to date with the latest, information that's coming out.
Yeah,
Maybe their day is overloaded, but I made sure that I went back and I told them about the government patent, and then I had him sign my surfboard. So I made sure that I let all my doctors know about CBD and recovery, because then 108 days later, I was surfing again. And so
amazing.
I made a real point of visiting every single one of them and telling them my personal story. So,
That's great.
um,
And hopefully
so
maybe
that,
suggest CBD to some of the other
yes,
patients that they work with.
right. And so, and during the physical therapy, well, okay, the first month I was really, really down and out. I mean, the injury doesn't leave you a lot of energy for the rest of the day. So
Mhm.
during the first month, every second of my waking moment was devoted to rehab. So it would be like I worked on the leg in the morning, I worked on the hand in the afternoon, I did speech, in the evening. So that would be the complete day, and I would sleep the entire time except for those waking moments, and I would do physical therapy, and then I would go right back to sleep. So during this time, and normally I'm a TV user, right? But so this is where we switched, and it was kind of a lucky thing. So what I was using, it was THC tinctures. All right, so I was taking indica tinctures, and it just so happens that in the indica tinctures, which are high in myrcene, and myrcene helps CBD pass the blood-brain barrier. So in a weird way, we were actually helping the CBD to work better, at the same time, we were inducing the sleep that I needed to recovery. Like your brain needs the sleep and downtime to spend the energy on recovering brain, and healing brain cells. So at the same time, the CBD was reducing the inflammation. At the same time, the CBD was attacking the glutamate. Now, glutamate like is a release when from traumatic brain injury. When your brain feels the injury, it releases like a glutamate to like counteract that. And sometimes that glutamate is actually what causes the most problems after when you're recovering, because it drowns out certain other neuroactivity near that insult site that weren't going to be affected otherwise, right?
Hmm.
It's really complicated. I don't want to get into the ins and outs of that, but trust me that when I say that the CBD had a huge impact on the size and the area that was permanently affected, and I believe that was really part of the reason that I recovered so much faster. And that being said, I did not take CBD before the stroke. I only took CBD after the stroke. My wife and I had attended some CBD and autism classes and Cannabis 101 courses at a dispensary nearby in Santa Ana. It calls Cannabis Works, and Cannabis Shelley had who's the wellness works director over there, was the one that directed my wife to chemistry when she showed up at her doorstep and said, "God, my husband just had a stroke, and you guys were talking about CBD helping that, and can you help find a product for me?" And Shelly, who is a dear friend of mine, knew that Paul Rathie chemistry was came from pharmaceuticals, and he had made the switch himself, and then obviously he had the best way to produce CBD. So that is my go-to chemistry. I take it every single day. I home for them, and I'll do anything for them. I mean, if somebody saves your life, you'll pretty much do anything for them also,
Yeah.
right? So yes, I just I love the company and that they stay true to the plant. Their CBD tastes way better than everybody else's, and I use full spectrum. By the way, I use a full spectrum product, cannabis CBD. So it includes everything in the plant, all the cannabinoids, all the flavonoids, all everything that's in the plant goes into my CBD, and so I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, the positive mindset. Yeah, the positive mindset was a real game changer. I mean, this is ultimately who I am. I'm a reggae a personality, a reggae. What would you call it? A reggae ambassador. I pretty much listen to reggae exclusively, which is fairly positive and fairly positive. It's completely positive, and so all of that conditioned me my whole life to think positive and be positive and even when your back's against the wall, you gotta dig deep and pull out the best of you. And so, I, I remember this like the day after my stroke, and I was just barely awake. My wife came to me, and I told her like straight up that I'm and this is not going to set me back. In 6 months I'll be surfing, and I knew that was I felt like I was lying, but I wasn't. I was so determined at that point that I was going to do that. I was going to do that no matter what, regardless of the CBD or anybody else. Um, but and then we added the CBD into my regimen, and I got on my surfboard in 3 months. So I blew the 6 month out of the water. I mean, I can't even believe that. It's really hard to imagine that. Man, those were when I was going through it. It really seemed so long, but now in retrospect, it seems like a bad nightmare. I mean, but that's where I'm gonna reach out to people and make my dent in humanity by helping other people. You know, it
You
says
also
here
the
that I
emotional.
stopped using. Oh, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. You go
Oh yeah,
ahead.
yeah. It says I stopped using alcohol, and it was really funny because one of the very first days that I met with my neuro what is she? One of the doctors that was in charge of my neuroscience there, and yeah, I'd asked her if I could use alcohol again, and I remember like I wanted to, and then later as I got into more of the THC tinctures and whatnot, and I started thinking to myself, why do I want to go back to alcohol? Like, and because everything was going right now, um, and I made the switch. I use a little RSO and a little FSO when I need to feel like I need at least a little more or whatever. So I do that, and Bird Valley Organics is my
Yeah.
go-to if you want to know them now. Okay, so enough of that. But yeah, so during my rehab, I mean, I come from a water polo swim team background, and one of the better high schools in California, one I had, that would be Wilson in Long Beach. And so, like, I come from like a super activity, like a high level swim team, So the work was not in question at all. The work to get the rehab. Now, where people go wrong on the rehab, they only do about 10%, or whatever their physical therapist shows them, or whatever their allotted time is at the physical therapy place. All
Mhm.
right. And no, I mean, they're showing you what to do, but you have to continue at home. So I
Yeah.
mean, so most people only get about 10% of their reps in, and so they get about 10% of their life back. I mean, it all translates. um, Stroke recovery is a no joke thing. It's all about the reps. To rewire a brain, you need about 1,000 to 1,500 reps a day on each limb, and that's what it takes. And I was willing to put that time in, because if I didn't put that time in, well, I don't get my life back.
Yeah.
If I don't put the time in, you don't get to play with your kids. You don't get to run with your dog. You don't hike. You definitely don't surf.
Yeah. It's worth it.
And
It's worth it.
man, so so one of the funny stories was, oh yeah, in the one of the things I wanted to do in the beginning is I wanted to take out the trash. Okay, that's all I wanted to do, because I knew that would help my family. Everybody was doing everything for me. They were cooking for me. They were at the very beginning. They were helping me in every way possible that you can imagine. I won't go into that, but so later, so I just wanted to take out the trash, right? And I thought, if I could take out the trash, if I could just take out the trash, my life would be so brilliant and it would be awesome. And then taking out the trash would be the thing that would be awesome for the rest of my life. And it wasn't, but it wasn't. But you know what? Okay, so the day I did take out the trash, and it was great. It was so great. It was going great for like 3-4 weeks, and then it became a little bit boring, and I was like, well, how can it become boring? I mean, this is what you wanted to do. It's so fun to walk again. So I started like slam dunking it, right? And just like throwing it, like, and had fun with taking out the trash, and then and I was shooting it, and that was okay until I missed. The day I missed the 3-point shot with all the garbage, it was not good. It had anyhow, it was a
But it
cleanup,
gives you perspective, the little
cleanup
things,
on aisle four, but yeah.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
so yeah, so I still do that. I try to make it as fun as I can. That was part of that positive mindset to keep everything working in a make make everything fun, right? And one of the stories was we used to go to Denny's a lot before the pandemic, and then we'd go to the grocery store together, right? And so after going to Denny's like twice or whatever, I was like, okay, this day, I'm gonna really go for it. I want to go to the grocery store. And she was like, what? Like I think I can do the grocery store. And in my mind, I thought maybe there was like 7, 8 aisles, and I didn't realize when I got to the grocery store, it was like 23, 24 aisles. I really made a calculated mistake, but I did stick it out. I like held the cart and like really powered through. But I remember that specifically because every once in a while I would just double my workouts, like, and
Mhm.
my body didn't really like that so much. But you know what it did? It got me to the next level. So I would adjust. I would double it. My body would do it, and then I would just be like worn out like 3 days, and like I just like can't do anything for 3 days. So, but I would learn to adjust it, and so I just continually like 1% better, 1%
Yeah.
better every day, right? Like, well, I guess it's more like this, like that, right? But then you get there on 1% better. Now I do a daily workout. I do surf. I can't say it surf specific workouts at home through Hydromind on Instagram. It's at Hydromind, and I run the Facebook group for Kyle. But what we do is work out at home of just 30 minutes, but it's 30 minutes every day. So, you can take a break the day after you surf, but at 53, I need that physicalness to stay in the water and keep at, because this year I have a goal. I have an incredible goal, guys. I'm gonna ride 6 to 10 foot surf this year consistently, and I've never ridden 6 to 10 foot waves consistently. Like I never I used to really just go, that's too big, But this year with the training and everything that's going on, I just ordered a big wave board, and I got like big aspirations, and so
Yeah.
man, oh
Well,
man.
look what you've already been able to
It kind of
accomplish. Like,
scares me. It kind
yeah.
of scares me in a bit. But anyhow, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm physically ready and mentally ready, and but it should be exciting. So make sure you follow CBD Surfer, and
Yeah.
because I do like Cory surfing adventures, and man, the day that I ride some big waves, man, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm really gonna be. It's gonna be quite fun to watch because I'm a personality. I don't really hold back anymore. Like I've been given the second chance at life, and so like my personality's out there for everybody to see. I'm really quite animated, and anyhow, I'm
Did
really a
you?
good friend and fun to be around. And basically, I will have your back for life if you're my in my friend group. And I love people. I love new people, and just have an overall zest for life. So
Yeah, no,
that
I
being
totally get
said,
that from you. That's why I think that you'll be such a great advocate. Now, one last question before we kind of move on to the next
sure.
section. Did your CBD use like stay the same throughout your recovery, or did you like ramp it up like as you're like in like the
Oh,
middle of your recovery and then like taper it back down? Like how did your CBD use?
oh
Did you
yeah,
change that?
yeah. Okay, so I started out. Yeah, I used Moon Made Farms Valentine CBD through chemistry. And I think that it was about. I'm just trying to recall. Right, I have a bottle in my room, but I think it's like 8 to 13 milligrams of CBD, and then and they broke down the cannabinoids. It happens to be high in CBDA, which is what you want for stroke recovery. So what I would use a dropper a day and a dropper at night, and then I would use an additional amount when I was doing my rehab. So I would use a dropper in the morning, then I would do like a half a dropper when I do my rehab, and then another half a dropper when I did the second rehab. So, and then later as I got to full fitness, I backed it down to a little more reasonable levels where I could sustain the the amount that I wanted.
Yeah.
I use about yeah, I'd say about a dropper and a half. And then I also use all cannabinoids. So I do take a little bit of hemp CBD from my son's hemp CBD because it has CBG, and I wanted the CBG in my system. So, but I also get that from HempWorks CBD. They have like little like CBG lollipops and whatnot that I get. So that is nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Definitely.
think that might be helpful if people are watching that have loved ones that are going through the same thing. That might give them kind of like a basis.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I tell people with that CBD, it because everybody's looking for a reaction. So they're so used to taking a pill and then having their body feel a certain way or whatever. And then they tell me, Cory, hey, I'm taking the CBD and I'm not sure that I feel anything. And I said, that's exactly it. It's the lack of feeling. It's more that you don't have to take aspirin. You don't have to take your pain relievers. You know it's give it a couple weeks, guys. Give it a couple weeks, and then you find out that you're not taking your pharmaceuticals for pain relief. And then now on top of that, I didn't really know that I had that much arthritis, but all of a sudden the joints in my hands and whatnot are just working just a ton better, and the cushioning in my knees. There's a lot of other things that I contribute to that CBD that are beneficial that are yeah that I can definitely tell.
that's great.
And,
And I hear a
a
lot of those
year later,
stories too.
right?
Um,
We're almost coming up on the 3 year. Is it 3 years? Oh, gosh. Guys, it was really funny because in May 2019 I had the stroke, right, and then I recovered and I just started surfing again, right, and then 2020 the pandemic hit,
yeah.
and then I pretty much removed myself out of the water based on I didn't know the science. We're sitting next to each other in the with no I'm a masker. I'm a vaxxer. Okay, guys, hate me. Say what you want, but I am. So I took myself out of the water. Out of listen, I have an immune uh, uh, child, right? Let's see, and I wanted to protect him, so I removed myself from the water. And then after I got vaccinated, which was quite a while later, then I went back and relearned to surf again. So the so I'm just now getting to the point where I can surf confidently and quite decently. I'm getting pretty good,
That's awesome.
compared to where I was before. I am so satisfied.
Yeah,
I
and you
didn't
like
care.
and you appreciate it so much more
Oh
too, I bet.
yeah,
Like
I didn't
every
care if
chance
I
you
was
have to
out
get
there
out
on
in
a
the
boogie
water.
board, stand up paddleboard. I didn't care as long as I was out in the ocean. Yeah, yeah, that
Right.
was it.
So I wanted to talk
Mm.
about something else too. When we had a meeting before this webinar, we talked about how a lot of people think that CBD is like the medical cannabinoid and that like THC is like you mostly for like recreational purposes, but you disagree, right? So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, yeah. There was a study that I just read about the the death rate. I'm sorry, the death rate in traumatic brain injury was much lower in the people that had THC in their system. So it went from like 9-10% death rate all the way down to 2.2%. You
Wow.
know, so I thought that was reasonable. I obviously I'm not a doctor, but I I there definitely need to be more study and look into this. deeper. Yeah, I definitely think that THC has a benefit in traumatic brain injury, and I'm just not sure the the, the science is catching up to what I already know. That's basically it. Yeah, the science is catching up to what I already know, guys. Look at me. I'm 100%, and I'm surfing. All right, and with it's incredible. That's why I'm out here speaking for the plant because um, you know, listen, it's got a bad stigma, and this reefer madness advertising is just bogus. Okay, and I'm out here to show you that this is true medicine, and that it needs to be presented as such
Yeah.
in a much more um, look what we have here. We have a miracle plant, and thank God we have this. That's what I want. I want
Yeah.
people to say that, wow, let's look at this option. When you're down and out with a stroke, you're going to look at any option possible, right? I mean, even if you're never a cannabis user, I'm telling you, like from my heart, that CBD. And now I'm not saying go buy your CBD from a gas station, okay, guys. As real good CBD is going to cost you, okay. And if you need recommendations on CBD, I will be glad to jump in there. I recommend and if you live in California, you get chemistry, okay. All right. If you don't live in California, come talk to me, and I'll help you find another viable full spectrum. Maybe chemistry and I can help expand to other states, but wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, and so many
But
people could be helped. I mean, I talk to people all the time that never considered cannabis. Finally,
yeah,
someone convinced them, and they had wished they had learned it and learned about
right,
this and used it so much earlier. And
yeah,
so, the message that you spread, trying to remove the stigma, educate people about cannabis, so important, so important.
right, yeah. I mean, listen, I am the stigma. Okay, so I've been called all the names, and in high school, I'm not gonna belt them out there because I'm a representative now, and I'm a speaker, and so basically, but I mean, beach bum, right? So anyhow, I'm very proud to be the speaker that I am now today, and to go and show you guys that we're working for medical. We're looking for legalization on a national level. That's what we're looking for. All right, let's get the brass tacks and get the healing in the nation going, and let's not pass the opportunity up. Let's get on this like right away, immediately.
Yeah. And I
So
think I do see the states moving forward quickly, and that's nice. But you're right. It won't
right,
be completely accessible for everybody until we have federal legislation change. So we have like the right to
yeah,
travel.
right, if they say it's okay national, and then a state decides that they're not going to have, that's okay
Yeah.
with me. Like, and if you live in that state and you want medical or whatever, you're probably going to have to leave. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
If you're in Idaho and you're in Utah, Texas, some of the others, all right, guys, it's not going over. And you might have to make a physical change of address, but that's no big deal. Come over towards me. I'll be your friend.
Yeah, there was a lot of medical cannabis refugees like in the early days, and
Right?
nowadays there's a lot more states that they can go to, which is nice. I also
Yeah.
wanted to add too that with federal legalization, they would open the door for research, and so we'd really be able to
Right.
have research funded,
Yeah.
peer reviewed, double blind to actually get into each of the cannabinoids and find out like exactly how much you need of this one or that one for the different conditions.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm looking forward. The freedom, the ability
Right.
to travel, people being able to get medicine, but then also like knowing more about the plant once the
Right.
doors for
Like
research are
Israel,
open.
guys. Like Israel. So we don't have to get all of the studies from Israel, and we need our own, guys.
Yep. So
Okay.
speaking of, that's a good time to like maybe present some of the research that we
Sure.
found. Yeah. So you want to talk about this article?
Yeah. Yeah. This was the one that well, I think,
So
let's
there's two
see.
different ones. I think you
Yeah.
submitted the second one. So this is one that
So
I found just saying that low dose of THC cannabis can halt the brain damage.
It was after the insult. It was determined that the size and shape of the actual area that was damaged became much smaller. Or I mean, it was limited to a certain smaller area than the other studies.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then here's a second one that we found as well. It was around the same time. I think all this research was only 2013, 2014.
Right.
So
Right.
you guys can
Exactly.
also look these up for yourself if you want to read the full abstract or summary. And we also have them attached for those live viewers. And then also we
Indeed.
talked about this a little bit before, but you found in your research that the government
Right.
actually had a patent on cannabis, right?
Right, exactly. Now, in the verbiage of the patent, they obviously state that it could and it should, and they had animal test subjects, but they really didn't have a viable like human subject, and so I mean that was part of the reason that prompted me to become a public speaker. This right here, this is exactly what prompted me to become a public speaker. Um, to let other stroke people know that you can get help and that our government knows about it, and that was why we should legalize. But listen, guys, let's see, where did I had a note on this. Yeah, every 40 seconds in America, someone has a stroke. Every 40 seconds. Um, so obviously, all of us. I can't see all of you in the room, but we all know somebody or someone who's had a stroke and is recovering or has partially recovered. Let's try adding some full spectrum CBD right now, and see if we can't get some more recovery out of them. I'm convinced that you can get recovery long after the doctors to say that we can't. And this is I'm almost on the third year of a recovery right now, and my right arm, my right leg just became dominant again.
Mm.
I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. That's astonishing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
that's
it, I thought it'd be
yeah,
always left-handed, and now my right hand's back to like better than my left,
yeah,
which
and it's
means my left hand could be quite good if I didn't ignore it so much.
now you're
I mean,
ambidextrous.
right, right. I
And it's
know.
all because mindset, emotional
Yeah,
intelligent coaching that we talked about that you
yeah.
do,
Oh yeah,
physical
yeah. That's
therapy,
really important.
cannabis.
Right. Now, as much as I recovered physically, yeah, I do have a lot. There are things wrong with me because of the stroke, right? So I can no longer control my temperature, and which becomes a real problem when you go in the ocean. I sometimes I cannot control my blood pressure necessarily. It's that seems to be getting better lately. I have mysterious pains on my feet. I have tingly, like numb sensations. And then every once in a while, my all my muscles will like stiffen up, like so I kind of like shaped like a board, I kind of, and then my right leg like kicks out like mysteriously, like just like kicking a ball, like especially if I drink coffee, it like it really, if I drink a regular coffee with caffeine, which I don't do caffeine anymore either. Yeah, caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, all at the same time. I well, it was a good time to quit all three of those.
Yep.
It was just you started thinking about your longevity, and like I live every day to its fullest now because of this experience. And yeah, now I'm all about making this last as long as possible. So I revamped my diet. I'm whole plant, about 80% whole plant, and yeah, and drink water now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's carbonated or whatever, but those LaCroix, I just drink those all day long.
that's awesome.
And oh, chemistry, man, my favorite. And when I see this, I just love them. They're just the best. So, Moonmade Farms and Alpenglow Farms pretty much produced the CBD for chemistry. I hope I'm not missing anybody else. If I am, forgive me, guys. I know there's some others. but I don't know them all. But I know those two are my favorites. And I've used the ACDC. That was the one that we switched to after the Valentine. Lady Benbow, I took that for a while. That was a Emerald Cup winning version of CBD, and right now I'm taking the Trident CBD. I drove up north to go get it at Soulful in Sebastopol. And shout out to them for being an awesome little, like, I think they just got an award for Cannabis. So gosh, I'm not sure. Forgive me for not knowing, but anyhow, they got an award, and they're definitely supporting chemistry. So I want to give a shout out to them for
Yeah.
sure.
And
And
at pharmacy, chemistry is a big favorite for,
yeah,
medical users, for seniors. They have the two different product lines, and I like the moods too because it's a little bit lower
right.
price point. It's a smaller bottle, better for people that are just trying to dip their toe, and they have like a full line of like different ratios. So
Yeah,
definitely something you
yeah, and the ratios really work
invest
well.
time.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that. Yeah, because at certain times of day, you want a different ratio. I
Different
tend to
days,
go for the
how you're
CB.
feeling.
Yeah, when I'm taking the moods, when I'm taking chemistry CBD, I usually go all out, just CBD. Um, but I do like the moods. I
Yeah,
definitely like the moods. I've had a couple of them. And have you had those Project Fusion pre rolls? Because man, those are
I
outstanding.
haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're diamond infused pre rolls. They're single origin and organic. Do you know where your weed's grown? It's all organic. Sorry, catching myself. Anyhow, they're really some of my favorite pre rolls out on the market.
nice.
Yeah,
I'll have to look
I
for
don't
those.
know if I'm missing anything. Am I missing anything here? I don't know. I don't think
Well,
I am.
the last thing I want to talk about before we end
Oh
is
yeah,
that you're starting a brain support group in Orange County, right? And if people want to get
right.
involved, here's your
Absolutely.
email. But if you want to maybe just talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, it would be an SB 34 group. So that means it would be a compassionate care group. So at the end of our little meetings, so it's going to run like a regular brain injury group, except for at the end, you'll get a compassionate care package when you leave. Now, I'm involved with another group that's like open use and a compassionate care group up in LA. So it's going to run quite similar to that, but with some differences. Um, I want to give the brain injured people some information on how to deal with your emotions because that was another change in the stroke. Yeah, my emotions I no longer have a middle ground. I have all or nothing, or even more than all. And so it becomes very troublesome for me to calm and hold back, like you saw me crying earlier, right? um, to to recover from that. I was using some of the techniques that I learned from Joanne, which is Plan C Now on Instagram, which is another one of my favorites. Yeah, she helps me reframe the narrative to be able to calm my primal brain, to be able to understand my emotions and why they're up front and why they're flooding my system, and then how to recover via grounding and breathing techniques, right? And so I want to pass some of that information along to the brain injured group because I think that they will need this information and they will be a better person for it. Along with that, we're going to hit them with the education side, right? Because they might not know that their use is actually helping them in their recovery. And then I want them to, so we're going to use some of OC Normal's education component to dive in there and support me with the slides and the handout information that I might need for my group. And then furthermore, then let's see, where are we? Oh, there'll be like Yeah, gosh, I've lost my train of thought
Just
here,
the time to
guys.
connect too, like with other
Yeah,
brain injury victims, and to share your
exactly.
story and
Right.
talk about what
Yeah.
worked
Oh,
for
yeah.
you. And
The other group kind of runs into like a round robin of like devastating stories after another, and it's especially on the brain injury groups, not necessarily the one I attend in Monrovia, but the other brain injury groups. Now, I do want the stories because I do feel the stories are important, but like I want to work on the recovery from the
yeah,
stories. Like,
the
how do we,
positive part of it.
yeah. So they were talking like in Monrovia, it's the veterans group, guys. Well, the Veterans Canada Coalition, all right.
Mhm.
And so a whole bunch of vets get together and they talk about, their stories that they're struggling. Like currently, like what are they dealing with? And it looks like something like when I go to a restaurant, I always have to go sit over here. I make sure I can sit over here because it's by an exit and it's not by the windows and it's around a corner and like I didn't know that that these thoughts are permeating their thought process during the day, like every vet that you're coming across, right? And I feel for them because I have some of the same issues. It's not exactly the same scenario, but I have those feelings that come across. Mine are more. Am I going to die today? So I guess it is very similar feelings. In fact, it's probably the exact same feeling. So
It's important to have that
so
support, and
yeah.
help
So
uplift
we
people and give them positive goals and support. So
right, right.
that's why I thought it was really important that we bring this subject to people and that you have an opportunity to connect with people and share your
Yeah.
story and help them.
Yeah, if
Um,
you know a brain injured adult that has a medical card, actually, if you don't even need a medical card, just contact me. We'll get you a medical card. And yeah, this group is just hasn't been formed yet. I just been given notice today that we are a go ahead and we are going to form this thing. So please
yeah,
get a hold of me. Anybody's eligible. I'm in Orange County. You'll have to drive to Santa Ana, but if that's a doable thing for you guys, I would love to have you in my group, and I would love to bring you on board for the very first cannabis. As far as I know, it's going to be the first cannabis support group for brain injured
yeah,
adults,
yeah,
and so I think that's going to be the coolest thing of all.
yeah.
You know?
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I am
Well,
too.
thank you. Thank you so much, Corey. You are so amazing. Your
I hope it
story
was
and
worthwhile.
oh yeah,
Right?
definitely. Yeah. Oh,
All
and we have
right.
people saying they just emailed you. So people are already reaching out. So again,
Cool. And
thank you so much.
I need a interview from a surfing I haven't got to the surfing community. I've done the stroke
Matt.
community, I've got the cannabis community, but I need some sort of surfing connection out there. Hopefully
Well,
today's the day.
there you go.
Otherwise
Well,
I'm gonna have to work on that. All right.
well,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much,
much.
Corey, and
Candace,
thank you
thank you
to
so much. You
yeah,
do so much for me. I really do appreciate you in my life. I like having you as my friend. And
likewise for
I
sure.
can't wait to see you more often.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, so thank you to everybody for being with me and Corey here today for this edition of the Pharmacy Cannabis Lecture Series. I want to thank you again, Corey, our guest, and his wife, Laura, for helping make this possible. Also, the team at Chemistry for being awesome and helping out Corey and, making their products available for our customers. And like I said, we have that discount for people watching live. I hope that we were able to um, make your guys' day a little bit better. I hope that we were able to share some information with you guys that will help you become better informed cannabis consumers and that the information that we shared will help you find relief. With that, stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you guys all next time for the Pharmacy Cannabis Lecture Series.
All right. Bye, guys.